Reaction to the federal arrest of current and former NBA figures Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, and Damon Jones. And just a short time ago, the NBA Players Union released a statement that says, in part, the integrity of the game is paramount, but so is the presumption of innocence. Both are hindered when player popularity is misused. All of this, of course, involves alleged illegal activity that involves either sports betting or rigged poker games run by the mafia.
Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
And we're joined now by CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams. It's really significant who is involved here, first off.
It's so significant who's involved. Terry Rozier, current NBA player. Chauncey Billups, and this sort of hits me hard. We're exactly the same age. I've watched him and again, these are just allegations. Nothing has been proven yet. But what we're hearing about from someone who was NBA Finals MVP is quite significant. And Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. Now, notably, the other folks who are named, and the FBI director noted them here, are the 4 of the 5 major crime families in New York organized crime: Gambino, Genovese, Lucchese, and Bonanno. They ran this network of really high-stakes poker games we're going to talk about in a second.
Okay, so let's talk about each operation, starting with Operation Royal Flush.
And you know, law enforcement loves the fancy names.
Love a good one.
And it's a good one. This is a good Operation Royal Flush. This is truly bonkers, Brianna, what happened. Let's talk through some of the mechanisms to defraud people of money that happened here. You had rigged shuffling machines that could count cards and determine, does Brianna have an ace? Does Elliot have 2 4s or whatever? And then transmit a message as to what people had in their hand, were holding on to card-wise. Secret signals between people who were in the room, electronic poker chip trays that could secretly read cards that were on the table. You had eyeglasses and contact lenses that could indicate and could sort of read what someone had in their hands and analyzing cards. All of this is a way of tracking who had what in their hands, sending signals to people who were either in the room or out of the room, and taking people's money. You're talking about up to $7 million some of the time that was here, right?
If you are into the names here, though, the next one's even better, which is Operation Nothing But Bet.
Nothing but bet. And this is an illegal betting scheme, an alleged illegal betting scheme based on NBA games. Now, the big thing here that's jumped out to me in the indictment was this idea of non-public information. Now, if you court watchers will know that's the language of insider trading. And when you're talking about trading on information that everybody in the world doesn't have, nobody has access to, but you are using to enrich yourself on. And here, information for bets as to how someone's going to perform in a game. Like, am I going to go out in the third period or whatever else, telling people that information in advance and betting a lot of money on it.
Knowing someone is sick, right? If you know that at the last minute because you are a player or you are friends with someone or you've heard something.
Yeah, another big one here, and this should jump out to everybody. One of the defendants, Damon Jones, sends this text message to co-conspirator 9, writing, get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information's out. Player 3, pay attention to that name. It's white, whatever. Play attention to that name. Bet enough so D. Jones can eat too sick. Now, player 3, someone who did not play in that game, LeBron James, believed to be LeBron James, who is player 3. So they were trading on what they knew about players who might have been in and out of this game.
That is wild. And walk us through the charges here.
These are really serious charges. And remember, I used the term insider trading before. This is white collar crime in its truest sense. Wire fraud, which is the use of phones and electronic media to transact in illegal activity. Robbery, extortion, money laundering, and illegal gambling is charged in these indictments. This is serious stuff. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty, but the mere allegations ought to send a chill down the spine of every NBA fan, including any sports fan more broadly.
All right, so let's really get into it because this is way bigger than people realize. You got NBA names like Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, Terry Rozier. Yeah, real names, real people. Not some D-League dropouts, not some washed-up G-League players. We're talking former final MVPs, current active NBA players, and coaches. And these dudes ain't broke. ain't struggling, and yet somehow they still find themselves caught up in what the FBI is now calling one of the most expansive illegal gambling and sports rigging operations in recent American history. Let me say that again. Rigged games. Not just betting, not just fantasy league stuff. No, we're talking about dudes allegedly altering their performance in real NBA games. Like you got players in actual NBA jerseys under NBA contracts who are said to have walked into a game not to win, not to compete, but to intentionally underperform or fake injuries to help their inner circle cash out on bets. Fam, that's insane. That ain't just cheating. That's career suicide on camera, bro. So now I want to bring up this second clip in regards of what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Yes, he is back and again making a fool of himself and being a topic of the conversation. First, let's check out what FBI Director Kash Patel had to say in regards of the whole laying down the hammer in regards to this whole rigging game operation.
Across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
In some instances, players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash. As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity.
How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. I'm going to say it on national television again. Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you hearing ICE is going to be there, looking to engage in mass deportations. The Super Bowl, disrupting things. Big night for the NBA. When Wembanyama put on a show. That has now been smeared because we're talking about this story.
Yeah, down the street. By the way, this was so wild. Stephen A. Smith, the sports commentator, suggested that this was revenge from the president for all the kind of left-wing activism of the NBA. Your response to that, 15 seconds.
I'm the FBI director. I decide which arrests to conduct and which not to conduct. That may be the single dumbest thing I've ever heard out of anyone in modern history, and I live most of my time in Washington, D.C. It's right up there with Adam Schiff. We arrest people for crimes.
Well, family, there you have it. But I want you guys to see the career suicide I'm talking about on camera. Before we get to Stephen A. Smith again, I wanted you guys to see the actual suicide on camera. So let me come off the screen real quick. So this is Trevor Rozier. Now I do have to mute the audio due to copyright purposes, but these are this is a compilation and clips of him basically acting injured to basically condone in making sure that he wins these bets, a part of the sports rigging operation. This is the actions he took in regards of his own gameplay, being an active NBA player under a contract where he's getting paid buku amount of money. But see what happened when greeds and the love of money take place. Greed, and when you get greedy, it destroys everything. So this is him acting like he can't dribble like he in high school. Matter of fact, elementary basketball. Now, this is him. You cannot family, you cannot say that this was forced to act like you can't throw a ball. Like, this is basketball 101. My 5-year-old can throw the ball. Literally stronger than that. So for all these wazoo and what the world, and now it makes you wonder as a fan, right? Because I watch the NBA. I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I'm not a Lakers fan, but I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. And rest in peace to the Kobe, the Mamba, the greatest, in my opinion, my favorite player. But the thing is, it makes you wonder. Now we know that players flop and they draw fouls and they do the most, especially like LeBron James. But now it makes you wonder, or when they have these weird plays and you're like, what the is going on? Like, bro, is that intentional? Now the second thought is going to be, wait, is this for a sports bet? You know what I'm saying, family? So now it basically compromises the game to actually appreciate it and have respect and integrity as much for the game as it should be. Now, the thing is, like I said, you guys just seen the career suicide on camera with Terry Rozier, right, playing for the Miami Heat, and that's fixing the game on a global stage in front of millions, while everybody watching is thinking this is about skill, coaching, athleticism, strategy, and you got Terry Rozier out here ducking out 9 minutes in what a supposed injury that's just supposed to happen to match up perfectly with a 6-figure bet that got placed hours before tip-off. $200,000 in bets on his understats. Like they knew he wasn't going to do nothing, and then poof, he walks off the court. Oh no, my ankle, my back, my neck. Please, bro. And then these dudes are allegedly meeting up at his house, counting the money like this is some straight up episode of Power type stuff. And here's what's even more wild is it's not just a few homies placing some backdoor bets. As you guys heard from the FBI and Cash Patel, this is linked to organized crime, the mafia. Yes, the mafia. 4 of the 5 major crime families from New York, right? The Genovese, the Gambino, the Bonanno, and the Lucchese families. That's not petty. That's historical. That's legacy crime. That's the Godfather beats ESPN. The FBI literally said, yo, this ain't just some underground sports hustle. This is a classic mob level manipulation of professional sports and casinos. And the let me put it like this. the magnesiums or the magnisms they use are straight sci-fi. The tools, the high-tech eye contact lenses, the X-ray table, like just look at the mechanisms of these things. We talking rigged poker tables with shuffling machines that could count cards, contact lenses that read hands, eyeglasses that transmit real-time info, chip trays wired to analyze the game in progress, and people inside the room and outside of it sending secret signals like it's Ocean's 11. You basically got a group of rich ex-ballers and mobbed up insiders who turned poker in sports books for millions, like one of the federal prosecutors said. And this isn't a betting scandal, it's an insider trader. It's insider trading with sneakers on. They even had players like allegedly text each other to say things like, yo, bet on Milwaukee tonight. Trust me, Milwaukee Bucks. Before the info even hit the public, and they got receipts. One message literally says, bet enough so D Jones can eat too. This ain't backyard dice games. This is white collar crime with basketball jerseys on. And that's just the surface level, because here's the whole thing starts to bend into the political and the ridiculous, because enters the room Stephen A. Smith, who decides, as you guys heard in the clip, in peak ESPN soapbox form, to jump in and say, you know what? This might be Trump's doing. Yes, you read that right. The FBI just took down a sports mafia gambling ring that's been running since at least 2023, and somehow Stephen A's first instinct is this got to be Trump's revenge for all the activism in sports. Like, bruh, what are we talking about? What revenge? Where's the connection? So you really telling me the Department of Justice under Biden launched a years-long multi-agency probe across 11 states involving literal mafia crime families and millions of dollars just so Donald Trump could get revenge on Terry Rozier? Fam, what are we talking about? Like, you start to realize Stephen A ain't even talking sports anymore. He doing this weird political commentary cosplay like he want to be Anderson Cooper, but forgot his audience just came to hear about jump shots. And see, this is what happens when someone gets caught trying to overcorrect. Because Stephen A recently called Representative Jasmine Crockett ghetto, and the internet cooked him, right? Leave it to the internet cooked him. They dragged him up and down the timeline because you got Black Twitter came for his edges with the hair he got left on his head. He might as well go bald. And the political commentators called him anti-black, like the pro-black commentator who is basically always trying to leverage the black community in regards of keeping them down with this whole identity politics. Roland Martin, right? So what happens is, we all know when it comes to the Democratic Party, and we all know what individuals that are part of the Democratic Party, their mindset is, and also the Democratic Party mindset is, if you don't agree and do what I say, if you behave a certain way that I don't agree with, because you gotta walk like how they walk, and you gotta talk how they talk, and you gotta behave how they behave. If you don't behave how they behave when it comes to these pro-Democrat individuals, pro-black Democrat individuals like Roland Martin, check out what Roland Martin said they're gonna do. And this what happened to Stephen A. Smith.
You say what we say at home. So you're right. When you're sitting opposite of Scott Jennings, you got to jump in his ass. You got to jump in his ass. Jump in his ass. His ass. You got to push back immediately. Jump in his ass.
So you guys heard that from Roland Martin, who's the most pro-Democrat, pro-black Democrat in the world, right? So what happened is they jumped in Stephen A. behind just for giving constructive criticism on Jasmine Crockett for not acting professional and also doing what's best for her constituents. But instead, he backtracked, crying wolf, like, oh, my apology, my black queen, my apologies to all the black queens, when it has nothing to do with race. All he was doing, and he shouldn't have had he didn't even do nothing wrong. All he said was, look, why are you acting like that when you don't come from that background? You're highly educated. You had private education. You know how to talk professional. You know how to be professional, because that's what got you to be elected to be the representatives up in Dallas. And now you acting on this ghetto cosplay to be liked. But in the reality is, you being so anti-Trump and so anti whoever the current, you're so anti on who's the current president is, with Trump derangement syndrome, that you can't even see that you're not doing your job as a representative up in Congress. There's nothing wrong with that as a public official. But they had to jump in his behind, as you heard Roland Martin, right? So now we got him basically saving face once again, speaking this nonsense. Check out what he had to say when it came to this whole rigged white collar crime, gambling with this whole organized. Just check it out.
Now, they're not playing. This is serious business. And two parts here: the veracity and the substance of the case itself, that has to be determined, and that has to bear out. And we have to keep our eyes and ears to the grind about that, to decipher, how significant this is. But there's no question that it's serious. This is millions upon millions of dollars that we're talking about at stake here. And if you're talking about an illegal gambling operation that was taking place, whether it be poker games or anything else, don't just look at the players. Look at who they're connected to. And if you're looking at this particular instance, you're talking about the NBA today. Could you imagine right now, you're talking about the National Basketball Association. What kind of effect does this have on the valuation of sports franchises and how this could be perceived? This could end up being a big time moment for Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. Similar to a David Stern moment when the Tim Donaghy situation took place. And right now, here's a statement from the NBA. We are in the process of reviewing the federal indictments announced today. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. As a person who loves the NBA, who loves Adam Silver, who had love for David Stern, God rest his soul, who knows an abundance of people associated with the NBA, I know that there's no way, in my heart of hearts, I firmly believe, rather, there's no way they would be remotely associated with such a thing. They take these things very seriously. But when it comes to Trump, this is not about that. This is about the integrity of the league. This is about impugning their integrity. This is about making things a bit messy and inconvenient. And whoever has to suffer, so be it. And why? Because people came after him. I've said before, vengeance, retribution. The man ain't playing. And this is not me casting aspersions, making judgment, or doing anything on anybody's side. I'm just telling you what I know. The man.
This is what I mean, family. You have to keep his spot to be affiliated and liked with his affiliated party that he is pro. We all know that this is the man who voted for Kamala Harris. He's pro-Democrat. So we know they were upset because he had basically judged in their eyes, which he said nothing wrong, in my opinion, just looking at Jasmine Crockett and assessing her for doing her job and giving her some insight, which she should take, because Jasmine Crockett didn't say that he needs to apologize. The people of the Democratic Party did. So what I'm saying is to keep his spot to be liked by the Democratic Party, since that's his affiliated party when it comes to his political stance. This is another stint of saving face from his comments a week ago. To keep his spot at the table, to make sure he's still invited to the cookout. Stephen A is doing the absolute most, talking about Trump, Bad Bunny, ice raids at the Super Bowl, and somehow tying that to the NBA gambling bust.
Ain't playing. The National Football League decides to elect Bad Bunny as its halftime entertainment. And shortly thereafter, we saw the Department of Homeland Security saying they have every intention of attending the Super Bowl, of being at the Super Bowl, outside the Super Bowl in Santa Clara, where they will be waiting for people trying to come to the Super Bowl, looking to engage in detainment and ultimately mass deportation. You got rumors in the hip-hop industry and the music industry where Bad Bunny is telling his folks, because he's from Puerto Rico, don't bother coming with me, because he don't want them to cause he don't want to cause them any problems. Trump knows this, don't care. You got the NBA now with this on immediately following opening night. It's not like some superstar was named in all of this, y'all. This is Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. But it didn't stop them from having a press conference at 10 a.m. to make sure that ABC had it, and First Take had it, and the sports world had it, to let you know what's coming down the pike, because he's coming.
Bro, what federal investigation doesn't have a press conference?
And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the WNBA is next. Protest, verbiage, we ain't judging. Let me be very, very clear. We're not saying that folks don't have a right to protest. We're not saying that everybody needs to be agreeable with him. We're not saying that you got to co-sign everything he wants to do ideologically and beyond. That's not what we're saying. What I'm saying to you is that being entrenched in this political stratosphere that we're living in now, it's not the policy stuff. It's when folks call him a felon. It's when folks wanted to put him in jail. It's what he perceives as an absolute abuse of power for him playing a game and mastering a game that the political apparatus had been playing for decades. But you tried to lock him up for the rest of his life. I'm telling you what has been told to me personally. by people who have spoken to him. He's coming. He's not playing. Folks thought it was going to stop at John Bolton, his former national security advisor, or Letitia James, the
I can't, bro.
New York Attorney General.
I can't, bro. I'm going to leave it there. But you got this man saying ICE is going to be detaining folks at the Super Bowl because Bad Bunny's performing and Trump's mad. Never mind the fact that the Department of Homeland Security is always involved in Super Bowl security. That's been standard since 9/11. It ain't about immigration. It ain't about politics. It's logistics. But Stephen A is trying to make it seem like this is part of some 4D chess plan by Trump to punish the NFL and NBA for going woke. Like Trump sitting in a dark room with the FBI director, like, activate Operation Takedown in the Miami Heat. And here's the kicker. The investigation happened during the Biden administration. So even if Trump wanted to get revenge, the timeline doesn't add up. But Stephen A don't care. He's not trying to be accurate. He's trying to be accepted. That's why he's suddenly calling the WNBA players marvelous and magnificent and beautiful black queens after never really speaking on them before. And that's why he's now pretending that this entire Department of Justice operation was somehow engineered by Trump to punish the woke sports world. It's a lie. It's cap, all of it. He's dancing, tap dancing, trying to re-earn the liking of the Democratic Party or members or supporters or voters of the Democratic Party. And it's obvious. But what's worse in doing that is he's actually hurting the seriousness of what went down. Like, bro, this ain't about Trump. This ain't about Biden. This ain't about WNBA politics or halftime shows. This is about the integrity of professional sports being compromised. This is about the fans getting lied to, the bets being rigged, the games being manipulated from the inside, and athletes risking everything to make a few side dollars from criminals they probably shouldn't even be talking to. If you make $100 million in your career and you still getting kickbacks from mafia run gambling rigs, that ain't hustle. That's just dumb. That's greed. That's ignorant. That's self-sabotage. And now instead of letting the system sort it out, letting the players defend themselves because you're innocent till proven guilty, letting the charges play out in court, we got Stephen A. Smith turning into a Trump revenge arc like it's a Marvel movie. And it's embarrassing, especially when you got other media folks just nodding along, scared to call it out because they don't want to look like they're defending Trump. But this ain't about defending Trump. This is about telling the truth. This is zero evidence Trump was involved in any of this. Zero. You can't just name drop him like a boogeyman anytime something bad happens in the sports world. And every time someone gets indicted, every time the FBI does a bust, we can't be like, well, must be Trump. Orange man bad, orange man bad. Like, the man is in the Secret Service basement directing crime dramas or something. Stephen A out here sounding like a woken blue anon shredded. Basically selling political conspiracy theories. That's not true based on no evidence, just baseless. So yeah, this ain't about right or left. This is about accountability is where I'm getting at, family. And if NBA players did what they're being accused of, and we're going to wait for the evidence like grown folks here, then they should be punished, just like any Wall Street executive or CEO who trades on inside info. That's the game. If the mafia is involved, even worse. That's federal time. But don't sit here and try to run cover because it's your homies getting caught. Don't twist it into a Trump narrative just because you're afraid of another backlash, because you got backlash because you basically gave valid, justifiable criticism to one of individuals that's a part of the Democratic Party. And just because you are popular and known for your sports commentary, and now you're trying to go into the political niche, but didn't know what you signed up for, and now the people in your Democratic Party is looking at you like, you better take back what you said. Like, we're going to have a problem. So now you're trying to save face times two. You already made your public apology that Jasmine Crockett didn't ask for, but the Democratic supporters, the base, came at you online and shredded you apart. And now you want to use another situation, which has nothing to do with you, to save face again by trying to say, okay, I'm going to come at Trump again. I'm going to apologize, and then I'm going to come at Trump so they know I'm still rocking with them, so I'm accepted into the Democratic Party. Everything he's doing right now is political, is disingenuous, and on that, he don't even know which side he want to stand on because he flip-floppy. It's like a kid in the lunchroom just want to be liked. You know them people that want to be liked, they'll do anything to be liked. They'll be a follower. He's a follower of the Democratic Party. Simple as that. But look, man, don't twist it into a Trump narrative. Don't simp for the WNBA like you suddenly care just to earn back internet points. And most of all, don't act like this ain't a huge L for the NBA's image, because it is. The moment people stop believing that the game is fair, that's the beginning of the end for pro sports as we know it. So whether it's Rozier, Billups, Chauncey Billups, Jones, or whoever else ends up indicted, this matters. This is real, and it deserves a real conversation, not deflection, not fantasy, not politics, just truth, man. Don't speak on something if you're not going to speak on it truthfully. Just trying to put your own agenda to it with your own hidden agenda based on what your motives of what you're trying to do to come in the likings of others based on lies. Lies never stand. The truth does. It lasts forever. But let me know what you guys think. As always, we're just here to have a conversation. At the end of the day, I don't want these guys to be indicted, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's right, man. You got to do what's right. I am not going to sit here and condone no crime or doing anything illegal. I condone in doing things the right way legally. Catch you next one, family. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys get some value from this video. Give this video a big thumbs up. And as always, family, I love you guys. Peace.